Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are tuning in for the first time, thanks for joining us. I'm doing a recap of my first 3 years in real estate. So today we're going to talk about getting licensed, getting started and getting your foot in the door. So for me, I never really wanted to be a real estate agent. Like, it wasn't my ultimate goal. I didn't really know what I wanted to be. When I went to college, I was studying business. I didn't know what I wanted to do with that. I was working in childcare for about 5 years, and I just knew that that wasn't where I wanted to end. When COVID hit and everything started closing down, yes, I am one of those agents who went and got their license during COVID. My reason for that was I always knew that I wanted to invest in real estate. I just didn't know how deep into it I was going to get. So when I started studying and learning all the information, I just felt like people that I knew, people in my community, like people who don't think that they can purchase real estate needed somebody, which would be me, who is now educated, to help them out and let them know that they can do it too. Because there's so much information that a real estate agent learns that other people just would never have access to. So now that I had access to it, I decided that this was something that I wanted to do. So for me, having done my 1 year of college, I knew that if I wanted to take this real estate class, I wasn't going to be able to do it in a classroom setting. I lose focus so badly when I'm trying to listen to a professor instruct. So I knew that I needed something that I could do at my own pace, online, go in, get the work done. So I personally went through the CE shop. Shout out to the CE shop. Now, a lot of people were like, it took them so long to get their real estate license. For me personally, I passed on my first try. Shout out to me. But I know people who taken the test, 5 or 10 times. They were studying for years and years to get their real estate license. Luckily, that didn't happen for me because I probably would have been like, okay, well, I guess it's not for me. That's just how I am when it comes to studying. And I've never done so well on a test, I guess I should say. Not percentage wise, but knowing that it was such a big test and I was able to pass on the first try, like that was big for me. Overall, the process of getting your real estate license is fairly easy as long as you can pass a background check and prove that you're a good human. It is a 60-hour course. You have to pass the course, which has a final exam, and then you have to take your state and national tests at a testing center, I guess. So one thing I've always been good with is numbers. There is a lot of math that you learn in the pre-licensing course, but there's also a lot of like laws, dates, definitions, and other things that you have to memorize. So for me, some things that I did, especially with it being an online course, I went in and I just took a whole bunch of notes. I didn't print off anything. I didn't go off of anybody else's notes. I just sat down, me and my computer. I went through, I read all the information, and I took a whole bunch of notes. So what I did with my notes afterwards, after I got through all of the chapters and everything towards the end, I would go back and rewrite my notes. So when I was rewriting my notes, I was only writing the things that weren't sticking to my memory. So if I was going through my notes and I was like, oh, I know this, or oh, I know this, it wouldn't go in the rewrite. But if I came to something and it's like, ooh, this is where I keep messing up, or whatever the case may be, I would rewrite that. As I went back and continued to reread my notes, I started reading just the notes with the information that I wasn't remembering. And I probably rewrote my notes like 2 or 3 times. But I mean, it helped. It made the memory stick. And when I was doing the quizzes and the tests at the end to get ready for the actual license test, whatever question I was getting wrong, I would write the answer. And then I would just go back and reread the answers until that information started to click for me as well. Another thing that I really liked about taking my pre-licensing class online is that there was a lot of quizzes as you go along. And one thing that helps me study is to be quizzed, not in no high pressure type quiz, but something casual just to make sure that I'm retaining the information. So there was quizzes basically at the end of every chapter, throughout the chapters as well, but at the end of every chapter you would have a test, and then you'd have to pass that test. Well, not have to, but you should pass the test before you move on to the next section, just to make sure that you're getting all the information. So that's something that really helped for me. So I took a lot of notes and I did all of the quizzes and tests. I went above and beyond my notes and I made flashcards. I was never a big studier, so it's not like I really had a process to this. This is not something that I did all the time. Like I said, I only lasted 1 year in college. And my high school years were, I did good, but I just did good. But this was something that I was pursuing on my own. So I really wanted to make sure that I was taking every step that I could to pass. So I did index cards and I would quiz myself. I would have my sister quiz me because I knew I wasn't that good at studying and I didn't want my nerves to get the best of me. I definitely took it to God. I talked to him a lot. It was, I made it like me and him were doing this. I didn't tell a whole bunch of other people that I was taking my test. I think my sister was literally the only person that knew. So just me, God, and my sister knew that I was going to go ahead and get my real estate license. Like when I passed my test and I showed up with a license, it was literally just that. Like people will tell you, I just popped up a realtor. Nobody knew that I was taking my test. I just really wanted it to be something personal. It was me and God sitting there every day studying together. And yeah, we was locked in. We was just doing it. And yeah. This probably isn't like the best practice for other people, but I can only speak about what worked for me. I listen to music while I'm studying. And the reason being, when I think of a certain topic or something, I'm going to think about a song that applies with that. I mean, that's just how I operate. When you have like those acronyms and stuff or phrases that you have to remember, I always come up with my own like terminology. So like if it's, I don't know. I don't have an example to give you guys right now, but acronyms and me go hand in hand. Like I will come up with like a funky little phrase so that I can remember. Kind of like how they do the rainbow. It's Roy G. Biv, but this is real estate, so it's not going to be that. But that's just something that helped me. So I would study with my TV off and with music, and I would just go in and I would read, and that's really all that I did to study. I took a lot of notes. I did the index cards. I listened to music. That was just my process. I did all of the quizzes and the tests. Oh, Prep Agent. There's this thing called Prep Agent. Prep Agent Joe. He's on YouTube. And basically, he's the best teacher, non-teacher that you'll ever have. He goes through everything. He breaks it down for you, and you can just watch the videos throughout your day. So real estate became a big part of my life as I was studying, because throughout the day, I would be either watching videos about it, or I'd be running through my notes, or I'd be, coming up with the acronyms in my head, just saying those funky little phrases. And it just really stuck to memory. So I studied from November 2020, and I took my test March 15th, 2021, and I passed. So as of March 15th, 2021, I've been a licensed real estate agent. So again, I do have to say that just because it worked for me doesn't mean it's necessarily going to work for you, but you could take what I said and kind of just, take what you need, leave what you don't. Results are not guaranteed. So just some things that I would recommend is repetition daily, quiz yourself, do Prep Agent. Well, watch Prep Agent on YouTube, and that's all before you go to take your test. So on the day of when you're going to take your test, it can be very nerve-wracking. I know for me, I get the little bubbles in my tummy and I start just, freaking out if things aren't going as according to plan. I also have anxiety, so like the pressure was real that morning. So what I did the night before, I didn't read anything real estate. I just relaxed. I enjoyed my evening. I ate a good dinner. I made sure that I went to bed early enough. And when I woke up the next morning, I just had a slow start to my morning. So I gave myself enough time. I took my test in the morning. I want to say it was probably around 11 o'clock. I didn't want to wait till later in the day because you never know what's going to happen during the day. So I didn't want nothing to throw me off. But I took my test around 11 because I knew that if I woke up early enough, I could start my morning right. I could do a workout, or I could have a breakfast. I could just, take a nice long shower just to relax and slowly make my way out the house and to the testing center. So when I got to the testing center, I got there early as well. I probably had a good hour before I had to take my test, but they asked you to come in early anyways because you have to check in, probably like 30 minutes early. But I gave myself some time to sit in my car and to reread my notes. I didn't reread the study guides. I didn't take any more quizzes. I just sat there and I read my notes. So when I go inside to take the test, I make sure that I speak to people because I know like standing there, I could just get in my head, and I really just didn't want to do that. So I went in there, I said, good morning. I was my normal happy self. I was very friendly. I spoke to everybody. They're like, you ready to take your test? I'm like, yeah, I got this. And I really felt like I had it. But deep down, knowing that I'm not a test taker, I was super nervous and my anxiety was kicking in. And it was just, I was talking to God and I was like, God, like, you got me, right? He always got me. So I felt a little better, but it was still nerve wracking. But I went in, I took the test. And one thing about the test is that they mix up the questions. Like everybody's test isn't going to be the same. So you don't know if you're going to get a whole bunch of math questions or if you're going to get a whole bunch of law questions or whatever the case may be. But when I got there, thankfully, I feel like I had a lot of math questions, and math is my thing. So I felt comfortable, especially starting out. And I was like, oh, math problem after math problem, I could do this. So I just went in, I took my test. They always say don't change any answers. There were a couple questions that I skipped. You can definitely do that. You don't want to take too long on one question. So you can like save it for later and go back to it. Some questions I answered and then I would mark it as like, I need to come back and check this. But what I did at the end was those questions that I answered, I told myself, we're not changing these. We're just going to go with our gut and let it rock. The questions that I didn't answer that kind of had me stumped, since I saved them for later, I had extra time at the end because they give you like 2 or 3 hours. I think it's 3 hours to take the test, but I finished it in like an hour, maybe less. And that alone kind of scared me because I was like, why do I have so much time remaining? But I just took that time that was remaining to go back and answer the questions that I didn't answer. And in the end, it worked out. I passed the test. The percentage doesn't matter. A pass is a pass. I really honestly don't even remember what my percentage was. All I know is that it's not a percentage, it's a score. The real estate test is a score because you have to get a certain amount of points in each category. And so I was just pressed. I was pressed. I remember walking out there like, I never pass anything. And I mean, I do. I'm exaggerating. I do pass things, but I was just super excited because I literally sat there and studied November, December, January, February, March. 4 months. I studied for 4 months. It was everything. It was COVID, and I was literally at home making real estate my life. I studied for 4 months. Had I failed, I probably would have been super devastated and been like, all right, I'm not doing this no more. But luckily, that didn't happen, and I'm here to work with y'all today. Now, again, I cannot tell you how to pass the test. I can only tell you what I did, and hopefully some of this might help you. Now, about 80% of the stuff that you learn in your pre-licensing course is not going to be used in your real estate day-to-day life. Getting your license does not mean that you know how to do the business. It means that you studied, you passed the test, you earned your license, but now you got to learn how to do the business. So the learning is just going to keep continuing for you. So you want to make sure that after you get your license, don't sit here and think, especially if you pass on the first try, because a lot of people don't do that. So if you do pass on the first try, humble yourself and make sure you get with the right mentors, the right brokerage. Surround yourself with a good team who could really help you show you how to do the job. So what I try to do as an agent who's been through it already, I haven't been through everything, but I have been through enough in the last 3 years. I try to make sure that I help the new agents coming on. So if you're somebody specifically in Maryland, maybe because I took the Maryland test, who's thinking about getting their license or is in the process of getting their license, and maybe some things are stumping you or you just need somebody to bounce some ideas off of, I'm here for that. And for my viewers who aren't necessarily taking their real estate license, go ahead and drop a comment and let me know what some of your best study practices are. All right, thanks for tuning in, guys. Bye. So since we're talking about studying, it was only right that I wore my university hoodie, my motherhood university hoodie. Shout out to my homegirl for getting me this after I gave birth. Killer.